Essentially, we're here trying to black out the headlamps of a Porsche Cayenne Turbo 957. So we're just gonna get right to it. Essentially, I removed the headlamps from a Porsche Cayenne Turbo, and they're easy to remove, and I'll show you how to do that. So I got my tools here. I got my drill bit. You're gonna need an oven to be able to put your stuff in. First, we're gonna remove this plastic piece that goes around the trim of the headlamp. Then you need to remove all the metal parts, housing, ballast, and everything. Anything that you could possibly remove from the housing, remove it. Remove this plastic piece. Okay, we have to get a little bit better lining. So far I've removed the ballast and the back pieces for the housing. I've also removed the two little screws that were on the side. Now, after closer inspection, there's a lot of electronics in here. Actually, this mechanism right here that is supposed to move the headlights. Some of these you cannot remove them from the outside. I'm gonna try to do is lower the temperature in the oven. Somebody suggested that I lower the temperature so I wouldn't mess up the electronics. And then just run 2 sets of 10 minutes each time. I'm gonna end up putting it upwards so it doesn't get damaged. Okay, Google, set up timer for 10 minutes.
Second timer for 10 minutes, starting now.
And just like that, we're waiting for about 10 minutes to see if it'll work. Alright, it looks like it's 10 minutes is up. So we're about to get this thing out of there. Everything looks good, normal. So first of all, I have to heat it 2 times at 10-minute intervals because I was scared of the internals. Then I just used a simple butter knife to be able to pry it open. Started with this corner and trying to work my way out, and then once lifted up, slowly moved my way through each corner and then kind of moved it around as everything opened up. Now that I have it opened up, this is what it looks like without the inner housing that I'm going to be painting from chrome to black. And this is the piece. Once it's out of the housing, that's going to be black. This shroud over here actually has a couple clamps that are easy to just slide out if you want to paint that part also. And just like that, with a little bit of pressure, that slide out of the projector. Just want to point out that if you want to remove the second part of the headlamp, these little screws will hold it together. You should be able to remove it with something like this. So, and it's not hard to pull out. Once you take those screws out, this floating mechanism that seems to hold it in place from bumps, you will have to remove it by just pulling it out. It looks like a little bolt joint mechanism that just comes out. Then you have to remove these 2 screws right here to detach this housing that you would want to paint. Go ahead and remove that screw and that screw over there so you can remove this to make room for everything. And there you have it. That is that last housing that's completely apart. There's 2 more screws in there that you might want to remove to attach it. Now we're left with all these parts that we are going to paint black. This is what your housing is going to look like after you get done taking everything apart. Just make sure you keep track of all your screws. Alright, so we took this plastic piece off that is easy to come off around here, but I forgot to show you something earlier. I didn't do it on camera, but I did do it offline. See these little pieces right here? You'll see them throughout the plastic trim right here. I forgot to tell you guys in the first lamp to remove these right here. They're all around the lamp, so make sure you do that. Second one, it should be a lot easier. I removed these caps, the bulb, the ballast, all these little screws, the rubber pieces, and all the screws around. Try my luck this time and putting it at 220 degrees. So it's in there and we're about to bake it. Okay, Google, set up timer for 10 minutes.
Alright, 10 minutes, starting now.
Let's wait. And while we wait for the second lamp, I'm going to show you what I'm going to use. I've tried this one right here with the gloss black. I've also decided to give it a clear gloss coat to give it that glossy feel to it. And last but not least, I picked up some of these to be able to restore the headlamp. So I'm gonna see if that works as well. As you can see, the lamp has clear signs of oxidation and road debris. So we're gonna try to clean that up as well. Okay, now fresh out of the oven, we're gonna try using a butter knife again and try to pry this corner open first. Once this corner comes apart, you should be able to pry it open very, very easily. But just be careful not to break any tabs. So just like that, this second piece has come apart. The rest should be the exact same thing as the first one. And essentially what you have to do is kind of mask any projectors so you can still be able to use the lights. In the garage now, I don't know if you can see because it's a little bit dark since I parked the other way where the light is. Now that we have some light, I want to show you the opening for the headlamp. This right here is the mechanism that is used to remove the headlamp. Essentially this right here opens up, and in the trunk you have a tool to be able to go ahead and open that up. That's what the tool looks like. And it should be sitting in next to your spare tire toolkit in the trunk. Once you slide that tool into that little knob and turn it right, the headlamp should come right out. After that, you should be able to take these apart and it's ready to put in the oven. Once you're done with the headlamps, it should be the same thing but backwards. Just twist that the other way. Alright, so while the paint dries out, we're going to be doing this right here. Essentially says that we should be able to use this lens clarifying compound after washing it and cleaning it thoroughly with a cotton cloth. But if it doesn't work, they give you this to be able to clean it a little bit more thoroughly. So we'll see if it works. Okay, so I actually applied just to a portion of this. And you can clearly see that it has lightened it up. Here's the comparison of the other one that has not had any application in this one. And as I move the camera, you see clearly the line within treated section. I haven't gotten to the second step yet, or the buffing, and I'm actually pretty impressed. Now I'm applying the second step to wet sanding the glass. This is day 2 on the project, and as you can see the results of cleaning the headlight, it came out pretty good. The only thing I'm not happy with is the little lines that you see from the sandpaper. I'm gonna have to get me a better sandpaper. Okay, so day 2, we're putting this back together little by little. So putting the bulbs and everything else that we do, putting it back together and putting all the bulbs and everything else that goes behind. Alright, so before we seal it back together, this is sort of what the end result looks like. For the last step, I'm going to be using this plastic Emblem adhesive trim made by 3M. Essentially it's the same adhesive that you put on emblems, so I figured it will be able to be removed if I need to. After heating up the oven, I'll apply some of this to seal it back up, and we'll see how it goes. Okay, so here we have the final product. So in conclusion, I
will say that this was harder than I thought. I am pleased with the looks of it. However, I need to buff it a little more. I need to get me a buffer and not just do it by hand, because it does look like it's a little oxidated still. I had to shut down the window because it was a little too loud. The exhaust is really loud on this car. But I'm happy with the results. If I had to do it again, I've learned a few steps that I'm going to mention little by little, that things that I should have done or not done in the process. Step one, I've learned that for the most part, I didn't have to take a lot of the screws and a lot of the things out. Should have been fine. I've also learned that the important part in that mechanism is the ballast. So if you take that out, you should be able to just bake it at 200. Also that if you bake it in there and it doesn't open, you can put it a second time and it's not gonna hurt itself. Another thing is that I realized that the rubber that's around it that seals it all together, not only does it have some sort of glue, but it also is stapled in there. So when you put it back together, not only do you have to reseal it, but you also have to get a staple gun of some sort to be able to put that back in. I've also learned that cleaning headlamps, unless you have a buffer, don't try it. A lot of them claim that you could buff it, but don't. I will say that the brand did work and it did clean up a lot of the oxidation, but I made it worse by sanding it. Now I did use the Emblem adhesive because I want to be able to take it apart easier. So I'm going to be doing a second video. The next time I open it, I think I'm going to order the shrouds with the 4 LEDs that are similar to the Panamera Porsche lights. And last but not least, I am making this video because it was a lot of research and there's not much information out there. So hopefully this helps you. Well, this is it guys, the final product, but it was a lot of work. So I learned a lot, so hopefully you guys did too.
Everybody's looking for something.